Ravens fan, what the Steelers did to our team is just not right. One move right at the beginning of the game left everyone in the locker room scratching their heads. When the Steelers won the coin toss and decided to receive the first kick, it was enough to ignite a fire of frustration in our players. It was a direct disrespect, as if they were challenging our strength, our defense. Believe me, this messed with the Ravens' emotions in ways they didn't even expect. What happened next was a true display of power and control. The team responded overwhelmingly, but what seemed like just another playoff game turned into something much bigger. What the Steelers didn't know was that by provoking the Ravens this way, they awakened something much greater. Stay until the end to understand how this unfolded and how this provocation only made our defense stronger, leading to a 28-14 win that the Steelers will never forget. Go Ravens! It all starts before the ball is even kicked. When the Steelers won the coin toss, everyone expected them to choose the traditional route, letting their defense start the game, which has always been the team's strong point. But surprisingly, they chose to receive the ball first. For the Ravens, this was a shock. Kyle Van Noy, a Baltimore defender, didn't hide his frustration. Disrespect, that's how he described the Steelers' decision. Instead of starting solidly and reliable, Pittsburgh seemed to be trying to show off, challenging their own tradition. Van Noy and his teammates felt that it was a desperate move, a sign that the Steelers didn't have confidence in their defense, which has always been the backbone of their team. This unexpected start made the Baltimore team even more focused. Instead of relaxing or letting the pressure build, the Ravens were thinking, now we have to prove our strength. They knew the Steelers were trying something different, and to them, it felt like a sign of weakness. This mentality not only generated extra motivation, but made it clear that the Ravens were stepping onto the field with a purpose, to show who the real powerhouse was. The disrespect, instead of being an obstacle, became fuel for the team. When the game started, the Ravens' response was immediate. Baltimore's defense gave no chance to the Steelers' offense, forcing them into a punt after just 6 plays and 19 yards. Already with the ball in hand, the Ravens showed their offensive strength right on the first drive, marching 95 yards in 13 plays and scoring a touchdown with ease. The game was starting to take shape, and with each play, the Ravens were showing just how much that initial disrespect motivated. It didn't take long for the Pittsburgh team to realize that the error in their possession choice was deeper than they had imagined. With the early advantage, the Ravens made it clear to the Steelers that they were there to play hard, no mercy. Pittsburgh's wrong choice not only affected the team's morale, but also put the Ravens in total control of the first half, dominated by Baltimore, quickly showed that the Steelers' confidence was being shattered. And this brought a sense of déjà vu, because with Pittsburgh rapidly losing control, the Ravens felt like they could finally end this streak of playoff wins for the Steelers. This early dominance set the stage for the great performance the Ravens were about to deliver. When the game kicked off, the Ravens stepped onto the field with a winning mentality. They weren't just playing to win, they were playing to send a message. The first half was a true rout by Baltimore, leaving the Steelers completely unresponsive. Pittsburgh couldn't get anything right, while the Ravens made everything look easy. They dominated the yards, with a staggering total of 308 compared to Pittsburgh's 59. For the Steelers, it seemed like every play was becoming a nightmare, while for the Ravens, this was just the beginning of a performance that showed their strength in every aspect of it. The difference between the two teams became clearer with every play. The Ravens' defense was impenetrable, putting pressure on the Steelers' quarterback and frustrating any attempt to advance. Meanwhile, Baltimore's offense was flowing perfectly, running the game with impressive consistency. Every time the Steelers' defense tried to adjust, Baltimore's offense was already a step ahead. With a 21-0 score at halftime, the Ravens showed that when motivated, they could play at a level far above Pittsburgh. It was like every move from the Ravens was calculated, precise, and focused, while the Steelers seemed to lose confidence with each new play. This domination by Baltimore wasn't just about a good start, but a mentality of wanting to end the game as quickly as possible. The Ravens were playing with controlled rage, an energy directly stemming from the Steelers' decision to start with the ball, something that was seen as disrespectful. For Baltimore, this wasn't just a victory on the field. It was a way of showing their rivals that they wouldn't be easily underestimated. And so, the team kept pressing, playing with an intensity that made the Steelers look awkward and completely out of sync. This total dominance in the first half wasn't just a reflection of physical effort, but also of the winning mentality the Ravens carried from the moment they felt disrespected. With every play, they seemed more certain that this was their chance to make a statement. And what happened in the second half demonstrated that, unlike the Steelers, they were fully prepared to sustain the pressure and the advantage. Now, the game was starting to shape up as a grand display of strength by the Ravens, who were ready to respond with another big offensive play in the second half. When the second half began, the Ravens were already on the gas pedal. After completely dominating the first half, the expectation was that they would maintain control and continue delivering an impressive performance. And that's exactly what happened. Right on the first drive of the second half, Baltimore once again showed why their offense was operating on a completely different level. With an impressive 95-yard drive in 13 plays, the Ravens showed they were fully prepared to do whatever it took to seal the victory. Every play seemed meticulously planned, with a perfect mix of powerful runs and accurate passes. The Ravens running back did an excellent job, running with power and agility, while the offensive line stood out by creating huge holes for him to run. But the aerial game also played a crucial role, with well-executed passes exploiting any weaknesses in the Steelers. It was clear that the Ravens weren't just playing to win. They were playing to show everyone that they were the most prepared, focused, and capable team to dominate any opponent, no matter the situation. Every touchdown was a reminder to the Steelers that the game wasn't going to be easy and that they needed to start reacting, which, by the way, didn't happen. Baltimore's attack seemed to have found an unbeatable formula, and that was evident when the Steelers couldn't stop the Ravens' momentum at any point. The score just kept growing, and the feeling was that if the Ravens wanted to, they could have kept controlling the game for long. There was no room for errors, and Baltimore was making the most of every opportunity. And the most impressive thing was that even when the offense seemed unstoppable, the Ravens' defense was equally committed to maintaining the lead and not letting the Steelers find any. As Baltimore's offense advanced and scored, the defense remained solid, forcing the Steelers to get more and more frustrated. The team's mentality was focused, and the offensive plays were like a display of pure efficiency. There was no doubt the Ravens were operating on a completely different level, showing that the extra motivation to prove something was turning into a dominant performance. With the Steelers having no response, the Ravens were on the brink of making even more history in the game, as control of the game slipped further and further into their hands. Well, we're past the halfway point of the video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't hit the like button yet. This is really important so that YouTube keeps recommending my content to you, and that way I can keep bringing you more updates. So go ahead, hit that like button. It's free. Thanks. Let's continue. Pittsburgh entered this game under immense pressure. After a streak of 4 consecutive losses, the Steelers were looking for something different, something that could get them back on track. That's why they decided to start the game by receiving the ball, instead of following their traditional choice of sending the defense onto the field first. But this attempt at change didn't have the desired effect. On the contrary, it was like a sign of desperation, a hasty attempt to reinvent themselves. And the reality was that as soon as the Steelers' offense took the field, they couldn't do anything, being forced to quickly give the ball back to the Ravens. The pressure was too much for the Steelers, and it soon became clear that the strategy wasn't working. Every attempt to move the ball downfield was thwarted by the Ravens' relentless defense. The plays were quickly broken down, and the Steelers' confidence was draining away in the face of Baltimore's dominance. On the offensive side, nothing was working either, and the sense on the field was that the Steelers were at the mercy of the Ravens, unable to properly respond. With the offense failing and the defense completely overwhelmed, Pittsburgh saw their chance to turn the game around vanish quickly. What was most impressive was the fact that, even after the frustrating start, the Steelers couldn't change the game's dynamics. Baltimore was in absolute control, and any attempt at recovery was blocked by constant pressure and the tempo set by the Ravens. Pittsburgh, a team that traditionally prided itself on its strong defense, couldn't regroup, and this only exposed their weaknesses even further. Instead of seeking balance, the Steelers kept sinking deeper into their own mistakes, and with that, the game slipped further away. The 28-14 loss to the Ravens wasn't just another loss. It was a continuation of a nightmare for the Steelers, marking their 6th consecutive playoff loss. For Baltimore, it was a statement that, when motivated, they could destroy any opponent, no matter the situation. Pittsburgh looked like a lost team, unsure how to react, while the Ravens grew more confident and ready to keep the pressure on. This defeat only heightened Pittsburgh's urgency to find answers to their playoff problems. At the end of the game, satisfaction was clear in the Ravens' locker room. Kyle Van Noy, one of the standout players on defense, didn't hide his pride in the team's performance. He knew that this victory was more than just a playoff advance. It was a way of showing the world that the Ravens were ready to face any challenge. In his statement, Van Noy highlighted the intensity of the game and the playoff atmosphere the team had created. For him, it wasn't just about the win, but about how the team imposed itself from the very first moment. Van Noy didn't hesitate to take a jab at the Steelers, recalling the humiliation Pittsburgh's team suffered, especially regarding their defense. With almost 300 yards rushing against the Steelers' defense, he made sure to say that with all the quality players Pittsburgh had, he'd be embarrassed if he had allowed something like that. For the Ravens, the game was an exhibition of total dominance, and this feeling was shared by everyone in the locker room. They were proud to have done exactly what they promised, to show they were in a league of their own. This victory not only gave the Ravens confidence for the upcoming challenges, but also served as a lesson for the Steelers. The rivalry was more intense than ever, and the Ravens were ready to do whatever was necessary to dominate. For Baltimore, this game wasn't just about defeating an opponent, but about asserting their position as one of the most powerful teams in the league. They were playing as a true team, with everyone focused on the same goal. Now, the Ravens were prepared to face any team that crossed their path in the playoffs, ready to show everyone they were prepared for whatever lay ahead. In the end, the Steelers' provocation by choosing to receive the ball first ended up being the spark that ignited the fire in the Ravens. Our defense's response was impressive, with a performance that showed what it really means to play against a rival like Pitt. They may have tried to challenge us, but what really happened was that the Ravens stepped onto the field with extra motivation and dominated, claiming the victory with authority. Now, I ask you, do you think the Steelers learned their lesson that you don't mess with the Ravens like that without facing the consequences? I want to hear your opinion on this. Don't forget to leave your comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any details about everything happening with the team. See you in the next video.